Do you ever feel lost or unsure about your purpose? I'm sure if you're an older person or you're around my age, maybe you're middle of life, it feels weird to not know what your purpose is. But I don't want you guys to freak out because that changes over time. So if you've ever felt lost with your purpose or you've ever felt unsure of what it is, you're in the right place. Let's jump right in. So I believe that finding your purpose is a huge piece of finding meaning in life, right? Like said differently, I think part of the meaning of existing is finding purpose. And that purpose changes over time. Somebody might start out doing one thing and they go into another thing. They might be an employee and then they might be a founder, an entrepreneur. So purpose changes over time. And you're going to have probably different purposes throughout your life. I know some people that have had one thing and they've stuck with it forever, but it does change. So what are the challenges? Common challenges that I've seen in coaching and also observing other people at the courses that I've been in and in some of the intensive programs that I've been in and also at seminars, through talking to people, I found that some of the common challenges are people get overwhelmed by the opinions of others, more specifically friends and family, people whose opinions actually matter. It can be crushing because without knowing it, they're projecting on you what you should be doing. They're projecting their experience onto you of you should go and get a 30-year job working at a company and then get a pension just like I did and this and that. And it's a hard conversation to have because in my world, I'm like, pensions are becoming less and less of a thing. And it's this whole conversation, right? You don't want to start an argument for no reason. And so opinions of others, especially friends and family, people that matter, those can be crushing. That's a challenge. I think a lot of times people also suppress deep down inside the things that they like and also the things that they dislike. And so people end up with a lack of clarity on what they desire from their life, in their life, what they enjoy. And it's the same with dislikes, right? So people, they have a lack of clarity on like, if I keep doing this over time, I'm going down the road of living a life, living an existence that's not fulfilling to me. So what are the solutions? So a couple solutions are, I'm just going to start with a couple questions that I've used. These questions have helped me come up to solutions in my own life. I love how Myron Golden will say that questions are the answer. This is very much along that same vein. So these are questions for finding your purpose and honing in on it. What do you love so much that you would be willing to do for free, but you're good enough at to charge for it? So Myron would say, what's the intersection of your passion and your proficiency? What is that thing? This question gets at that. What do you love doing so much that you would do it for free, but you're good enough at it that you could charge for it? This next one comes on the heels of a rough week talking to a friend of mine and realizing that the stoicism is a real thing and life is challenging. What are you willing to suffer through? What are you willing to suffer for? The dip is a part of launching any company, right? There's the startup dip, the book, the dip. They all talk about the excitement of starting out high and then it gets hard and hard and hard and hard and harder and harder and feels impossible and then it starts to come back up. What are you willing to suffer for? What are you willing to struggle through? That's the dip. And it's going to come no matter what you do. And so that's a good question to ask. Another framework that I really liked was from a friend that was in one of Benjamin Hardy's classes with me, Dr. Ben Hardy. And her approach on finding purpose was so interesting to me. It balanced out the spirit and the brain, the logic and the excitement. And basically, her framework, what it did was it helped people that can sometimes be over-evaluative. They can be overly logical. They can overthink things. Help people step back, slow that down, and say, what are the things that your spirit gets excited about? Like, pay attention to the things that your spirit gets excited about before your brain moves in and says, oh, that's not possible. We don't have enough money to do that. It would cost too much money. It would take too much time. Sometimes you have to slow down your thought process to even be aware of this. But that was a really powerful one for me because my brain was constantly stepping in and saying, that's not possible, that's not possible, that's not possible. And I realized I needed to slow down my thought process and pay attention to the things that I had childlike joy over. And that helped me find some direction. So remember, purpose can be for a season. It's not forever. And so you can be any age watching this. You can be any age struggling with, you could be 70 and thinking like, okay, I'm going to retire from this thing. What do I want to do next? What's my purpose? Your purpose is going to change over time. And so I want to share with you guys one story before I close. This past weekend, I went to a riverside town that I often go to on weekends. And I went to a coffee shop there. And I was talking to this young kid who had just come out of a community college that was local, and he was going to, he's just about ready to go to a larger college and he's going to go for entrepreneurship. And so we really hit it off. I was talking about all this stuff, and part of my brain breaks when people talk about academia and entrepreneurship, because in my mind, there are so many things you can't learn until you get your hands actually dirty outside of academia. But anyway, that's a side story. The interesting part of his story for me was he talked about how he took 2 weeks in an internship as a part of his schooling to go shadow his grandfather, who works in finance in New York City. This was 2 weeks of his life. It wasn't that long. But he realized he hated it. Those 2 weeks, that 2-week investment was one of the biggest game changers for him. He realized his purpose wasn't in that. It wasn't in New York City. It wasn't in finance. And so, I don't know. I found this hugely inspiring that, like, try something, put yourself out there, experience something new. He could have went down this whole road where he lived in Manhattan and had the whole life, did the whole thing and hated it, but he found that out in 2 weeks. I hope this story inspires you. I hope these questions help you, and I'll see you guys in the next one.